Island 2 is basically a popularity contest. Yes, that's kinda the point of vote-based survival shows. Hey guys, last week I asked for you iland opinions and you guys delivered. I ended up getting over 200 submissions in the less than 24 hours, so of course I can't include every single opinion and confession. If your specific submission wasn't included or was cut, it may be because a similar one was added, but even so, if you still want to share, go ahead and leave it in the comments. Remember to try and remain respectful, and let's begin. The beginning of the end for Fuko was when she was getting mid-scores during part 2 from the producers, and also when they said she's playing is safe or something like that. Agree, and I always found this stupid because the producers themselves were assigning the songs to her and the other trainees. They could have used better songs, at least different songs than in or you next. It kind of felt like a copy version of it and a cheaper one too. Honestly, yeah, I don't know why they choose pretty much the exact same songs for multiple missions, and the Lovesick Girls remix was genuinely not good in my opinion. It's still one of my favorite stages solely cause of the girls, but the remix was bad. I also wasn't a fan of the Signal song, but Iwali is genuinely the greatest survival show song like ever. I think Sarang should not have debuted. Constantly in the show she has been pushed for people to vote for her. However, she had multiple voice cracks, and in who I think her vocals were shaky and she was being stepped on because everyone else was stronger in vocals. Sarang crumbles when she's in front of an audience, and that's the biggest part of being a K-pop idol. I think they only added the 7th member Beast. See, they thought Sarang wouldn't make it. They probably thought it would be Fuko and CB instead of Sarang. I mostly disagree with this entire argument. I think criticism regarding her recent stages is fair. Her mistakes were definitely something you couldn't just brush off. However, basing her entire skill set and talent on these is unfair. Her stage fright can easily get better once she actually begins working as an idol regularly. Her part 1 performance were good, really good, and she's had good public performances to like Countdown and the final. I also don't understand other submissions that claim Fuko or another should have debuted instead of Sarang. Sarang made it through only votes. She actually had a fanbase who could vote for her, who knew how to vote and was actually big enough to get her in. There is no scenario where Fuko would have debuted instead of Sarang because Fuko's fanbase didn't know how to vote. In fact, most of our fanbase didn't vote for her at all, and we weren't as big as people thought. Instead of hating other girls who actually had a fanbase who was locked in and got her in by their own power, maybe criticize the fandom for being complacent or the producers for how they ran it. A lot of people are questioning my, but even if there was no PD pick and there were 6 members, CB would make it. And since they added a member, my would have made it to B. See, they both were 6 and 7 in votes anyways. I definitely see where this is coming from, and this is completely right, but it also makes me question the whole point of a producer pick. And I think it should honestly just be dropped from Island for future seasons. I love all the girls dearly, but it's really unfair to say part 2 is not about potential, it's about how ready you are for debut. Yet Fuko wasn't there. I completely agree. However, I genuinely can't imagine taking some out from the current lineup, so I'd actually have an 8-member one instead of 7. I think all the girls deserve to debut, but for the life of me I don't understand how Fuko didn't make it and how the PDs didn't pick her. She has writing credits on Iwali, she has always had consistent performances, she's never made a mistake, the girls loved her. How didn't she debut? I honestly wish I hadn't a proper answer for this, but I genuinely have little idea either. For one, it may be because they didn't want more than 3 Japanese members, and they simply preferred my over her. While it could be because of concept decisions, I truthfully don't think they are going to do a girl crush concept for the debut. And also, people saying this is the reason also forget that Fuko can pull off darker or more intense concepts. We saw it through Bad Boy and Final Love Song, but I really don't have a concrete reason. I'm genuinely baffled on why Yuju and Juwon weren't more popular. Juwon is an all-rounder, she's really entertaining and got a lot of screen time during the show. Yuju was the best rapper on the show IMO, and I thought she secured her debut in EP2. She has great leadership, amazing stage presence, and she's a good dancer and vocalist. Truthfully speaking, it's probably because they don't fit people's vision of a final group. The most popular trainees all fit a certain image that's popular recently. That's probably why Juwon and Yuju just weren't as popular as they deserve to be. While people critique the producers for being central focused, the fans also have visual and image bias. Mai was the least talented of all 10 girls. She can improve WTF, the other girls are already ready. She only debuted because of her visuals, like Wonhee, and people need to accept it. While I understand where the point of view that many of the opinions have, I also feel like people forget there is so much more that it goes into choosing a lineup. On a much more negative note, however, compared to everyone else, Mai would be easier to put in the background for the final group. Having members like Fuko, Yuju, and to some extent Juri, who demand bigger positions and longer parts, it'd be much more difficult to have a balanced line team.
This is a very well-balanced lineup vocally and visually. And each member is distinctive but complementary of each other. I feel bad for Fuko, but I don't believe she'd shine in this group. This is Fuko's villain origin story. I think Fuko should go solo. Juri will be amazing in a future girl group. To elaborate on me not thinking Fuko would shine in this group. Jimin was pitched as a center for a while now. And with the Jungkook and Jiyoon storyline, there was no room for Fuko as a main vocalist. Last minute, they tried to pitch Fuko as a rapper, but thankfully that failed. She should shine as a vocalist. Whereas, concept chameleon Sarong and main vocal Junjin passed that test, and charismatic visual award goes to Mai, CB, and Sarong. There wasn't a place where she could shine within the nature of the show. And Fuko has shown that she wants main roles. She does not want to be in the background, and she shouldn't be. And if she made it in this group, she most likely would be in the background.
This is a really good explanation and I like it. However, I still think Fuko could have been put in as a good lead vocalist, but honestly, yeah. Had she debuted, she most definitely would have gotten little to no lines.
I feel like mnet want to make another his own though. Looking at the members, majority of them are more vocal-wise than rap. Even the isna font kinda similar to his own 5. CB might be the next Wonyoung, it girl. Her visual will change as she grow.
I can see where this is coming from, but I also feel like recently rap has been put in the background in general. I definitely don't think they'll do a zone concept except for maybe something similar to Panorama.
With CBI, I honestly agree. I think she has great potential, but I think that potential will either be missed or reached depending on how much center she is given and shared with Jimin.
The producers weren't as bad as people made them out to be, except when Monica was criticizing Juwon's facial expressions in EPATBW. I think that was just not her proudest moment. Also, the Sujin dislike from her.
I definitely don't think they were terrible. For example, the Girls and Boys Planet mentors genuinely pissed me off so bad, but I still think they weren't the best. However, as time goes on, I highly doubt these scores are solely from mentors, and I think they're highly influenced by production.
Honestly, I really hope the group will have a similar concept to the song Drip.
Agree, Drip is so fun, I love it.
I believe this is one of the best lineups to come out of Survival Show.
Honestly, yeah, the lineup is actually really good. While it was mostly predictable, it was in general a decently liked lineup through the show. It really wasn't until now that everyone was upset. Anyways, it's now time for a lighting round and we'll come back to some full responses.
Eunji is the all-rounder of the show and the underdog. She was great at everything but ignored all the time because of her age. However, people come and others like Mai because they have a good personality, yet get mad when the debut lineup isn't talented. Justice for Eunji. Fuko and Jiyoon's friendship was one of the main reasons I kept watching the show even when part 1 got boring. I think the producers made a mistake by not having them both in the group because I think their dynamic would have pulled in more fans. I don't know why the producers decided Sarong could only do innocent, bright concepts. In my opinion, her best performances were the girlish choreo from before the show and mic drop, Sugarcoat. I wish we'd gotten to see her do more concepts like that. I kinda wish Jimin was first BC. I felt like she was more of a center than Jungkook. I think the votes were rigged. Yue and Lingling should have made it but were eliminated in the worst ways. Yu being called up for times was pure evil and Lingling not making it because of her having the second lowest Korean votes was undeserved. CB and Jimin might have overlapping positions, which could prompt a lot of fighting in the fandom. People who hate on my BC Fuko wasn't chosen are weird. Y'all just had to vote, it was that simple. Anyways, Jungkook center I can finally die peacefully. The reason Fuko didn't make it as BC, she didn't try hard enough. I feel like Jungkook will not be treated right by the company. I don't know, it felt like they just wanted Jiyoon in the lineup as the main vocal. Jiyoon is my bias, so no hate on her. TBH, I think that isna wouldn't be produced entirely by Teddy. I think mnet just used his name for attention, but Teddy will probably only produce their debut song. This was my first survival show of watch where I genuinely loved and cared about all the girls involved. I was originally devastated that Juri made it to part 2 instead of Yui, but Juri ate up every single part to performance, so I can't even be mad. Ignoring her for Wall's lip bite, unnecessary. Minseol and Choiseul were so underrated, sad face Sunjuan, but at least she made it to part 2.
Okay, we're back.
The producers set Mai up for hate with their reasoning for choosing her as a PD pick. They could have mentioned her determination or how much she's improved over time, but instead they choose to just talk about her visuals. It's no secret Mai is a controversial pick, but they at least could have done my girl a favor and better justify themselves to somewhat ease the inevitable hate train she faced with debut.
I agree, the hate Mai is receiving isn't part of what the producers said. Truthfully, Mai is a great performer. She improves at an incredible speed, but this won't matter to K-pop fans. The moment this girl makes the smallest mess up, hell, her just existing, she get hated, and I feel terrible for her, and God, I hope she has a good support system right now and for the rest of her career.
I think Sujin deserved to be gone because she has a bad attitude and a bad mouth. LOLGGAF, I have my opinion and I kept it classy unlike Sujin. Yeah, I said it.
This is just weird. Sujin very clearly was close to Mai and in the following episodes was one of the first to comfort her. I'm sorry you're weird. You don't know these people and you definitely didn't keep classy Mao.
The show in general just proved that real ready trainees shouldn't challenge for a debut in a survival show. A trainee should go there even halfway of completing the skill sets required for an idol, so that the editors could establish a storyline of actually improving through the help of the show. Also, faking a struggling part then presenting an impactful performance is such a wise move to create a storyline.
I actually never thought about this, but yeah, it's actually really smart. Usually the trainees that are real ready and do debut are either incredibly good or they get chosen to be favored, so being halfway in skill more or less guarantees a decent storyline.
Island 2 is basically a popularity contest.
Yes, that's kind of the point of vote-based survival shows.
My situation will end up like Yuvin's. From what I remember, people called him a dozen after Boys Planet. People will hate now them switch up on a couple of months and love her.
I initially agreed. I made Boys Planet videos and God, I got Yuvin comments genuinely every day. However, I think the fact that Mai is a girl will be the reason the target won't get off her back, which really is upsetting.
The main position battle was there just to prove who will be picked as the members from BTS picks. Rap plus performance, having dance when the main vocal ones didn't, main dancer, praising CB, and not Juan and Sujin when they did far better, all-rounder. Didn't have a rap when it was clearly all-rounder and main vocal. Jungkook did not deserve to be in 10th position.
I agree. Personally, I thought everyone who won that episode was rightfully so, but the scores the trainees got was ridiculous. It's insane to me how Yuju, Sujin and Juan and Fuko got such low scores. They genuinely made no sense.
Producer, mnet favoritism has the opposite effect on me. If a certain trainee gets favored or pushed by mnet, I instantly start to get annoyed by them and not like them. Even trainees that I loved at the beginning, like CB and Mai, and trainees I was indifferent towards, like Sarong, I ended up being annoyed by their debut after the show was over because of how much mnet and the producers favored them. It's not fun to root for someone to debut when they are almost guaranteed to debut because of favoritism. Like CB was in my top 3, but I didn't vote for her as much as Jiyoon, Juan or Jungkook because what's the point? I knew that she was gonna be saved by the producers and debut anyways. Once the finale rolled around, I was rooting for trainees like Yuju, someone who was never in my lineup to begin with, to debut just to stick it to mnet and the producers.
In the nicest way possible, this mentality will just make you miserable. It'll suck out the entire fun from survival shows, and it's not fair for the girls you're voting for because it's not genuine appreciation. You're voting out of protest to a system that's messed up, yes, but you're still participating in it. To really stick it to mnet, you'd need to completely stop watching the survival show system. Like the trainees you want to like, if they get favored, that should be a sign of celebration. I understand where you're coming from, but it's just not a healthy mentality. Anyways, that's all for today. Thank you for everyone who submitted, and if you still have more or didn't make it, and go ahead and share in the comments. See you. I never voted until the finale.